This is the Art and Business of Writing podcast. Welcome to episode 21 of the Art and Business of Writing podcast. I am your host, Chris Jones. Today I am joined by Marco LeRoc, international speaker, coach, and author. Marco has written 2 books, Screw College Debt, How to Go to College Without Breaking the Bank, and Cash In With Your Money, Tools for a Better Financial Life. Marco and I today talk about how to take your expertise and put them into books that people want to read. Marco is considered a financial expert in many circles, and Marco talks about how he's developed loyalty among his readers that differentiates his books from the books of other people. We also delve into how to develop your platform based on your expertise too, so you'll definitely want to stay tuned and listen in for that. So without further ado, Mr. Marco LeRoc. Welcome to the show, Marco.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah, great to have you on. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of beyond the bio?
Awesome. So my name is Marco. Like you say, I tell people if they cannot remember, just say Marco Polo. It'll be much more easy for them to remember. Anyway, so I'm the author of this amazing book, Cash In With Your Money, Tool for Better Financial Life, and also my latest book, Screw College Debt, How to Go to College Without Breaking the Bank. Because we realize that a lot of people are breaking the bank with college degree. So we want to teach them how to do that, with zero debt or less debt. So that's the second book. And I'm also an international speaker, so I speak on the topic of personal finance, of course, and also personal development. I have engaged audiences from Stanford University to speaking to clients in London, in Mexico, and in Africa. And also I'm a coach, so pretty much I'm the kind of the support system. There's many people out there, for instance, Chris, they have financial goals, right? But they can't get it done. So that's where I come in as a coach to help you achieve whatever goal it is.
Now, how did you get started?
I have my personal story. Long story short, I moved here from West Africa, Togo, back in 2004. And Chris, when I moved here, it was a mess. I was a big financial mess, right? But I get myself up. Right, I did not just complain and stay there. I get myself out through the help of different mentors or getting educated myself. Once I get to that point, I told myself, there's a lot of other young people out there like myself that are struggling financially. What can I do to help those folks? And one thing that comes to my mind is to write a book. But again, Chris, at that point, you know what? I have no clue how to write a book, actually. But I figured it out. And now it has given me the opportunity not just to speak, but to impact many young adults out there.
So the idea to write a book, where did you start? You said you didn't know how to write a book, wasn't sure what to do. What was your starting point?
Actually, I'm going to be frankly honest with you. I met a guy some years ago. His name is Dr. Ed, and he wrote a book called Live Your Life With No Regrets. So basically, in his book, he associates failure as a success. Because most of the time, every time we want to do something, we fear failure. We fear about what people is going to be talking about us. So once I get that book in my hand, it's kind of changed my mind. It's you know what? Forget about your weaknesses. Actually, you can use your weaknesses as an opportunity. That's what happened with my book. So from then, I started doing some interview. I'm going to financial planner, financial advisor, CEO, asking them questions about personal finance. I'm collecting those information. I started reading a lot. I'm going to the bookstore, getting all those information. But what was the main trigger was the financial crisis, Chris. The financial crisis that happened in 2009. Mm-hmm. It was what motivated me the most to write this book, because I saw an opportunity to educate people. Because, people are talking about the subprime mortgage be the main reason of the financial crisis. Yes, I agree, but the main cause is because we as a consumer, we are not financially educated enough, to understand what we purchase every day. That's what happened. So pretty much my book, is talking about, the first book is talking about 4 main points. The necessity of being educated financially. That's one point. Secondly, as a consumer, we have to understand the difference between our wants and our needs. Do you agree with me, Chris?
Totally.
Third, we use a credit card. We think it's money that we have. We swapped our card, but then we don't have the money to pay it back. We get hanged by interest rate and all those stuff. And then fourth, We live in a society where we're so greedy because Chris just bought a new iPhone 6. I have to have it, but I don't have the money. So those are the four reasons that we discussed in the first book, coming for the financial crisis that just happened recently.
Now, interesting. I like how you said that you looked for CEOs and people in the financial sphere to interview. How did you find them? Like, what did you do to go find them? How did you get them to agree to an interview? And then how did you put it all together?
Chris, people like to help. People like to help. You'd be surprised how many people out there who want to pass their knowledge out there. There's one thing you can read out, you can learn from a book. But sitting down and having a conversation with a leader in the field and learn from them is totally different. And you just have to ask. That's what I did. When I saw somebody that is respectful in his field, I just go to the person, introduce myself. This is what I want to do. Can you help? But also you have to be respectful to that person's time. So easily, that's what I do. People like to mentor and give back.
Well, that's cool. So they were pretty receptive then.
Exactly. Because, they see the value of what I'm trying to do. I didn't just go there and ask that, what, be my mentor. Why I want them to be my mentor. Why I want them to meet up, because I have a goal. When I wrote a book that I want to educate others out there. So they see the value in me, so they accept it.
Looking at your reviews on Amazon, you've got 4.5-star reviews for this book. People seem to really like it. One person said, putting off your means only means you're further away, and he talked about how great the book was. And then someone else was talking about that it's the best financial reference guide money can buy. So, you've got some
awesome.
You've got some great reviews on Amazon.
What we're trying to do with the first book is really make it really simple for the average person to grab it and understand. We want a high school student, a person who doesn't have any financial background, to pick up this book and be able to understand. What happened to me back then when I was trying to educate myself in interpersonal finance, I got stuck, with books that have terms that I did not understand. So from that experience, I tell myself the book that I'm going to write has to be very accessible for the average Joe.
Absolutely. Well, that's what one of the commenters said, the high school economics class that they never got.
Awesome.
When you started to compile all the information for this first book, Cashing with Your Money, what did you do once you had the manuscript?
Well, once I had a manuscript, that was the tough part, right? So I was trying to find a publisher. But keep in mind that, as a first-time author, it's always hard. You get so many rejection. But you know what? Rejection are actually good stuff because it motivates you more. That's like a test for you, to see if you are really willing to make the move. If you are really willing, to impact people. Yeah, so, I contact a lot of people. I get rejected, but I did not stop there, So finally, we went to a small publisher in Indianapolis, who was willing, to take the risk on me, who published the book for me.
When you approached the publisher, how did you approach them?
Well, I just basically in every other author, you send them the manuscript, in your letter, explain who you are, what you're trying to do, what is your book is about. So pretty much is like a marketing for the book. You have to lay out those details, who's your audience, what is the book is intended to, what is the end goal of the book, and all this kind of stuff. So you send all those stuff to them, and then they will decide they want to take you under their wing or not.
How many publishing houses did you submit to?
Well, I would say about more than a dozen, that we sent it to, yeah.
And so your second book, Screw College Debt, how did that come about?
It's so funny, very interesting. So I have two stories behind that book.
Okay.
From what happened to me personally when I came to the country, I went to college and I went to different financial time. So it enabled me to leave my private 4 years institution to go to a 2 years community college. And I was working 2 jobs, Chris, because there's no way I could not afford, to work 2 jobs. So I was working 2 jobs, to pay my tuition, to pay rent and all those kind of stuff. So after that 2 years, I have my associate degree in accounting. So I have the experience to go back and work for a bank and then stay home for 1 year and work my butt off and go back to the 4 years. Because of all that, I graduated debt free, right? So that's something that I'm very proud of. It was not easy back then, but today I laugh about it. I'm very happy because I don't have any college debt. So that's one story you need to pick out of it. Secondly, after my first book, I started going to university to speak on financial literacy education. And I'm keeping hearing this problem of college debt, because there's a lot of college students out there who are just like, so scared about their college debt. They're gonna graduate so many debt. They don't know if they're gonna get a right job. So I'm keeping hearing all these things. And then finally, I was traveling one time and I saw by this kid who was about $153,000 college debt, but he didn't graduate. So I told myself that I need to be part of this conversation. And again, what I did, I started interviewing people, collecting some information and all those stuff. That's why the second book came up to place.
I like that you took a very non-traditional approach, though. That's very different and very smart.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah.
So did you springboard the writing into speaking and coaching, or how did all that come together?
As I would kind of say, it's kind of go hand to hand. So I started speaking to some college student about the importance of college debt. But what we focus on is the awareness, Chris, because a lot of people are not aware of the college debt in the U.S. Right now, it's more than 1.2 trillion. Wow. Are you with me? 1.2 trillion. The outstanding U.S. college debt. It has to scare you. It has to scare you. And many college graduates are defaulting on their loan. So the question is, what we're trying to do is to raise the awareness for parents and students. Like, hey, I'm not saying that college is not good, but it's an investment, but not all investment are good investment, Chris. So you have to understand, first of all, why you as a student is going to college, or why am I sending my kids to college? That's the first question that we're asking parents and students. Secondly, how are you going to pay for it?
Now, Marco, as a writer, an entrepreneur, a speaker, when you're out trying to sell yourself, because a lot of writers, well, not a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a good deal of writers who envision themselves kind of speaking to people and helping people through their books. And you've got a book, you got a speaking circuit you're working through. Do you think it's easier to get a lot of better speaking gigs once you have a book in hand, or do you think it's easier just to do a lot of speaking engagements without the book?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No doubt, I think the books give you more credential. Once people know that you have a books, they are more likely to have you come and speak to their group because they can see a value also there. Not saying that people who don't have a book cannot get a speaking engagement, but as far as me personally, I have found out now that I have two books, make things a little bit more easier for me than when I have one book.
Do you find that people are coming to you more often now that you've got that credibility?
Correct.
So tell me about what did you enjoy about the entire process of putting together two books and marketing two books?
I think, it's just the excitement to make an impact. And be honest with you. I'm so excited, to make impact on people, especially on the young adult. Because to me, I was not even thinking about the money I'm going to make selling the books. I was thinking about the impact. How can I change? How can I put the information out there for people who don't have it? But when you have that mentality, the money will come. But if you put the money on the front end, I'm going to go sell this book, I'm going to go do this speaking engagement, sometimes it's hard. But when you go to free mind, telling yourself hey, I'm going to help people today, I'm going to make an impact. Where can I help? It just trickle down. I'm going to tell you, I've never done any marketing per se, to promote my book or any speaking engagement. It's just through referral, because I go to this community college or this high school, somebody will refer me back to this person, and that's how it goes. Last weekend we were in Chicago. We were speaking the second annual Chicago School Fair. 7,000 people came through that event. It was just amazing. It was amazing. I was able to speak to so many parents and students, and they were just light up, telling them the truth about the issue of college debt. That's what I like. I'm very passionate when I'm able to pass the information and then make those impacts.
Oh no, your passion definitely, it shows through tonight. But I love what you said there. When you have the mentality to help others, the money will come. Because so often, I think that as writers, some writers, some writers get it. They get it to head. I just want to write. I want to put stuff out there. I got these stories to tell. But then you get the other side where it's I'm writing because I want to make money. I got to make money, somehow, some way. And I like what you said there. Just that mentality of I want to help other people, because good things always return.
Exactly.
Now, are you working on any books right now?
Actually, we are working on our third book. And it's so funny because, I never thought about the third book in that genre. The third book is not going to be about money. It's going to be on personal growth. As I mentioned to you earlier, I also do coaching. So pretty much what I do, I sit down with my client, and my goal is to inspire them. to achieve their financial goals or whatever goal it is, or to help them find out whatever financial problem they have. So I become a support system to them. So I'm kind of like the guy who's gonna be calling you maybe once a month, to make sure you're not going out to eat every day, to make sure you're following up with our budgeting plan, to make sure you don't oversee your discretionary expenses. During that process, I have realized a lot of young people out there, they don't have the self-esteem. Okay, they are not believing in themselves. So I found an opportunity out there. So actually, the third book is gonna be on personal development. It's gonna help people discover the best of themselves. I do strongly believe that everyone that God created have a talent, have a skill, but sometimes we don't know what those skills are. So the book is gonna help people find those skills so they can develop them, so they can go out and make a difference in the world.
Okay. Now, with there being the plethora of personal development books available in the market, as you know, how is your book going to position itself differently?
As a writer, you have to have a marketing piece in your mind before starting writing your book. That's one thing. So I know from the get-go that, yes, I agree with you. There's so many books out there about personal development, self-help. But I have some audiences that I know I can reach out. Those audiences not going to go after those books that are already in the market. Those audiences not going to go to the bookstore, go get the books. But I know that I can put my books in front of them. And also have a huge market in Africa, for instance, where I know that book is gonna make a big impact on those people out there who they don't have the opportunity to come here or to experience all those great books that we find in the bookstore here that we don't take advantage of. So we're gonna position our book in all those different markets.
Do you have an expected release date for that, or is it just getting started?
We're just getting started right now. We're
okay.
Interview phase. Our goal is to interview 100 successful people, in different industry, and then part of that, we're going to compile the book in that. But, our goal, we're thinking by the end of 2016, we want to have something ready for the next year of 2017, kind of that, around that time. So people can purchase for a Christmas gift, for New Year's resolution, things like that.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Do you have children?
I have one little girl. She's 17 months old.
Yeah. Do you find the book writing's like pregnancy?
That's a really good question. So I have a strategy. What I do is pretty much for the last two books, I have everything laid out, so it's much more easier for me. And then I just set up some clear standards for myself. And I told myself, hey, Marco, every day you're gonna write 1 or 2 pages. Just make it easy, because I try not to put too much stress on it. Because if you put too much stress on it, then it's not fun anymore. It has to be something exciting, something fun. But then if it becomes stressful, then it's not that fun anymore. So what I do personally, I try to make it more relaxed. I space it out. I have everything laid out per chapter, all those different categories. And then I tell myself, you know what, Marco, today you're gonna write 2 pages, 3 pages. And if I slack on it, it's okay. I have to catch up the next day. But the key point is to have some mentors, people to hold you accountable. So that way you can fall through, yeah.
Right. So you talked a minute ago just about interviewing hundreds. How do you whittle that down from hundreds to just the vital few that you're going to need to actually finish the project?
Well, so basically, I had the opportunity to go to a lot of conferences. I meet some great leaders here in my community here in Omaha and elsewhere. So I look at different industry, and I see people that I admire, that I have achieved something, maybe through a difficult time, maybe whatever it is. So I'm reaching out to those people to share with me not only their story, but what kind of lessons, we can take away from them. Because keep in mind, those people are just somebody like that nobody cared about, but they have broke to the ceiling. They have accomplished something good. So my goal is hey, what can I learn from that person? When I say successful people, I'm not talking about somebody who has $1 million. No, I'm talking about maybe an entrepreneur. I'm talking about somebody who have fought cancer. I'm talking about somebody who has been in jail for maybe 20 years and then has transformed his life, being a successful entrepreneur now. So my definition of success is maybe different from the average person's definition of success. So that's how I've gotten to nail down my 100 people that I'm interviewing right now.
So Marco, how did you come up with your cover design for both of your books?
Well, I have a designer,
Okay.
that I work with. Sometimes, like, she doesn't like to listen to me, which is which is a good thing, because sometimes,
Right.
as an author, you have those big ideas. You want it to be this way, but you don't think about your audience. So she usually keep me in line, tell me, "Hey, Mark, we have to go this way and that way." So, and then also for the first book, that's the third cover we have done, because like the first time you may not get it done right, which is okay. We learn through mistakes. So the first cover was not like, was just like boring. We did a second one. It was like, okay, now we just have the third one, which is the right one.
That's interesting that you had to go through 3 iterations before you figured out the right cover.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because I think as writers, we can get hung up on just the aesthetics, or maybe we don't pay attention enough to aesthetics, and we put something out there that we think looks good to us, but then it just falls flat with the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And keep in mind that like mistakes are great learning opportunities. I mean, you don't have to repeat the same mistake. You can only learn from it. So that's what I tell people all the time. If you make a mistake, that's fine. Don't panic. Learn from it. Next time, do it differently. It's not the end of the world. All those successful people, like, from Warren Buffett to Bill Gates to Tony Robbins, they have made mistakes. They have started from somewhere. They didn't just become like an expert overnight. They have learned from somebody. So just take the leap. I tell people, like, don't be the first to start and don't be the last to do it. Be in the middle. So you can learn from somebody.
Now, hey, let me ask you a question. So I'm wrapping up a book project myself. Did you notice that as you got closer to the end that you spent more time in bookstores looking at other people's books?
I've done it all the time. Actually, like, it's so funny, Chris. Every week I had to be at a bookstore because I want to see what are my competitors doing.
Yes.
I want to see what kind of book out there. I want to see the cover. How did it look like? Who endorsed it? Who are the major publishers? All those kind of, because it's very important. You have to be able to measure yourself with those targets so you can know that, okay, you're like on the right track.
Yeah. Now, Marco, how do you decide on pricing your work?
Well, again, I look at the book in that same genre. For instance, like, the second book, it was probably like $16.95. So we look in the book in the same genre and see how much they are. And then we go by how many pages, we have like in the book. And then based on those information, that's why we decide like, the price. But keep in mind, Chris, like, the price of $16.95 is nothing. It's nothing because the value that what people's gonna get the information is much more than $16.95. So I tell people don't get hooked up on the price, how much you're gonna sell your book. Get hooked up on the information that you're gonna tell people. That's the most important than the price of the book.
That's true, because you can just spend $16.95 on it or spend $16,950 on a college year of tuition
Exactly,
for the same material,
Exactly.
Get it for
exactly.
a percentage of the cost. All right, Marco. Well, we're gonna wind.
Let me ask you, what is your book is going to be about?
My book's going to be about writing. I've written a book. It's called The Art and Business of Writing, just like my podcast, and
Awesome.
the book itself is really going to go into how people can start their journey as a writer, basically from the beginner to the seasoned writer. And so it starts with going over everything you need to do to create a successful writing life, all the affirmations, all the stuff you need to do to kind of lay the foundation.
Yep.
And then it gets from there to actual writing to learning how to market and promote.
Awesome. People need that definitely.
Yeah. I'm in a lot of writing groups, and I find that a lot of people they run into that wall. Like, there are a lot of people who are just talented writers, man. They can write all day, all night. And then it gets to that point of promotion. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to promote it. I don't know where to find. I don't know where to find a good cover designer. I don't know how to, get it out there. I don't know where editors are. I don't know how to get on shows. So my book covers all those things.
That's great.
It's kind of like you were saying, you just find that need and you just meet that need of people who need that knowledge that you have.
Exactly.
So, hey, we're going to come in for a landing. I'm going to ask you just some rapid fire questions, if that's okay with you.
That's totally fine.
All right. Who are some writers within your own genre of finance and professional development that you really admire?
I'm not going to say necessarily like, the personal finance. I'm going to say personal development. And there's a guy called Michael Hyatt. He focused on on productivity. He's a big fan of mine.
Love Michael Hyatt.
Okay, I'm glad you like him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan too.
Awesome.
Okay, so hey, if you could have one imaginary life for a day, what would you be?
Cool. I would be Warren Buffett.
Really? Why so?
Warren Buffett, he's a genius when it comes to investment. He lives here in Omaha, Nebraska. And I kind of like, his lifestyle, because he's a multi-billionaire. But he does not show that. He could be driving a big Bentley or living a multi-billion-dollar house. But, he's still living his small house he has for so many years. And he has a heart, to give back, in many ways that you can think about. So the guy is just and his investment advice, and his life and everything are just amazing to me.
Name one book that changed your life.
The one book that changed my life is a book from Dr. Ed, Living Your Life with No Regrets. So basically in that book, whatever you want to do in your life, whatever dream you have to do, Chris, go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. We all make a mistake anyway. Go ahead and do it, and you're going to be grateful forever.
All right, awesome. Now share one piece of parting advice for our listeners.
I'm going to go and advise the financial literacy area of personal finance. I'm going to tell your audience, don't spend money you don't have to buy things you don't need.
Ooh, nice. And how can our listeners connect with you?
It's pretty simple. So I'm available online, so they can visit my website, www.marco, M-A-R-C-O, LeRoc, LEROC.com. Again, www.marcoleroc.com. That's my website. I'm also coming at my email, marco@marcoleroc.com. Also available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, on iTunes, and also available on ebooks.
All right. Thanks a lot, Marco. Appreciate your time tonight.
Chris, thank you so much for having me. It's a great opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and best of luck in all your endeavors.
Thank you.
Wow, what an inspiring episode. If you weren't able to take notes, I've got you covered. Visit my website at www.chrisjonesinc.com/podcast to get today's show notes, as well as access other episodes you may have missed. Be sure to subscribe and rate the podcast on iTunes. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.